The Broncos are back in 1 week, and we're back today. Henry Chisholm and Zac Stevens coming to you live on the DNVR Broncos Podcast, where feels like the offseason, but it doesn't really, because the Broncos always have something going on. And before we jump into the news of the day, got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that promo code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and they're going to give you $150 in bonus bets by placing a bet on UFC this weekend. So check them out, DraftKings Sportsbook. Get some bonus bets. Henry, how you doing today?
Not great, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, this is true.
I'm moving, which is, like, it's never fun.
No.
Like, it's one of the worst things in the world.
Yep.
But there's ways for it to get even worse. Like, even when I was all on top of my shit, like, I was like, okay,
That's
I got
impressive.
my cashier's check. Like, I've got the renter's insurance all lined up. Like, everything's all filled out. Like, I am good to go. Show up, and there's like, actually, it's not ready yet. So, if you come back at 2, then we'll give you the keys then. I was like, okay, well, I'm actually meeting the movers at my storage unit at 2, so it better be ready, because I was supposed to move in last Wednesday and then on Friday, and then they moved it again to this morning. So they don't have a great track record. So, yeah, I'm just really hoping that happens. Well, and then the worst part is, as I, like, walk away, the next girl behind me is like, I found a mouse in my apartment. And I was like, wait, what? No. We aren't dealing with mice. That's not something that's going to happen. And
Maybe they're taking the mice out of your place the next couple of hours?
As long as they're not putting them in. So, yeah, it's a stressful time. No, we don't cheer for the damn mice. Yeah.
No, there's just a Mickey Mouse in your apartment.
So, okay.
That would be sick. I'd take that.
Real quick, my aunt, when she moved here, she didn't know a lot of Spanish. A lot of English. She found mice in her house. She went to Home Depot, and she didn't know how to tell the people that she needed mouse traps. So she went, Mickey Mouse in my house, Mickey Mouse in my house.
Oh, my gosh, that's too good.
Wow. But the good news is, this is a happy place today.
Oh.
A very happy place today.
Like your seat right now? Like where
this
you are
podcast.
right now? Oh,
this is like, I feel like this is going to be one of the happiest podcasts of the offseason.
Oh, good.
Except for a couple not so happy things.
Wait, why is it going to be happy?
Well, I mean,
because
Brandon
of what
Marshall's
we're
going to
talking
win a
about.
lot. There's like helmet stuff.
Yes.
It's a good day here.
Yes,
which will be a nice little break.
I'm curious if the helmet stuff is going to be happy. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's get the bad news out of the way.
Not happy.
Broncos second-round player Faion Hicks arrested on Saturday. It comes out yesterday. Arrested in Florida for, running a stop sign or some sort of just basic traffic thing. Then he had a expired license. And then the big one, a third-degree felony for carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. Henry, former 7th-round pick, I guess second-year player, didn't play much last year, 7th-round pick, new regime coming in. I can't lie, the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, damn, that's just an easy decision for the Broncos to say, for Sean Payton to set a precedent and just say, see ya.
Yep. I mean, we've heard the accountability thing over and over, and that typically doesn't mean, like, for legal situations like this, but that is a part of it.
Yep.
That is a part of it, is if you do something, which something dumb, honestly. Like, to me, this is the crime was you were dumb. And there's a little bit more, like, because there is the gun charge and that stuff.
Why don't you explain it a little bit?
So, I mean, basically, he gets pulled over for, what did they call it? I want to find the exact line that, I'll find it in a second. But basically,
disobeyed a stop sign.
He disobeyed a stop sign. Didn't run the stop sign. He disobeyed it. Which, again.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yep. Maybe there's a bunch of cars around and he could have caused a wreck and all that stuff. I don't think we know what time of day it was.
No.
So there's all that stuff. But I mean, on the surface, you ran a stop sign. Don't do that. But I mean, it's not that big a deal.
You deserve a ticket for doing it.
But
understand.
When the cop says, "Can I see your license?" and the license has been expired for 4 months, again, that to me is a crime of being dumb.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it. It's illegal.
Yeah.
Crime of being dumb. And then you get to the gun thing. And that's the one.
If it's just those two things, he's probably not arrested. He's just given a ticket for two things, and it's probably $500 or something.
Yeah.
But then, yes, now the gun thing.
And I think the tag on it was like less than 4 months expired. So that must be the categories, like first 4 months and after.
Right.
So who knows how long. But then he had a gun in his car, and he didn't have a permit to have a gun in his car.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, I'm from Montana. It's not the first time I've heard of something like that happening.
Right.
But that one, again, a crime for being dumb because you just go get the damn permit if you want to have a gun in your car.
Yeah, or don't have the gun.
Or don't have the gun in the car. Now, there is a little bit on top of it where, like, it is a weapon, and you got to be careful with weapons.
Yep.
And we all know that, and that's especially true now. So, but yeah, I mean, you wind up stealing headlines for getting arrested on gun charges, felony gun charges, as a 7th-round player who didn't really get on the field. Like, there's just not much case to keep him around.
Yeah, exactly. And if Sean Payton wants to, point to details and how everything matters, not just on the field, not just off the field in terms of in the meeting rooms, but everywhere in the way you conduct yourself, would the Broncos be cutting Jerry Jeudy or Randy Gregory or Russell Wilson for something like this? No, but the NFL and life isn't fair. You are treated differently depending on how much of a star you are, how much potential you have, how much dead cap comes with cutting you. And unfortunately for Faion, this is something that I just wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of just Sean Payton saying, nope, this behavior isn't going to be allowed here. With a big asterisk, especially for 7th-round players that haven't done anything in the NFL. Now, second chances are certainly something that Sean Payton could also point to. But like you said, really, a headline of a player being arrested for a felony gun charges is something that could just be in itself enough to move on from someone.
And there's our guy, YO PA Poke. We usually don't say the PA, I feel like. We just go YO Poke. But aren't they doing permitless carry in Florida now? Yeah. Starting July 1st.
Oh, it hasn't started yet.
Yep. So the law is on its way. And who knows? Maybe he would say, oh, I thought it kicked in.
Right.
Which in court would be a decent defense, especially in Florida. But his issue probably isn't like the actual court. It's just like court of public opinion and the court of Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, yeah.
And that's not a court that I want to be in. But yeah, like if this had happened 3 months later, there would be no charge for that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Henry, you are like on top of your I don't know if it's gun laws or if it's just laws in general, specifically dealing with Florida. I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, I know all sorts of shit about Florida, and I guess guns too.
I was gonna say, and you might soon, unfortunately, become very into like renting laws and stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I mean That's, again, I was supposed to move in at 10, so I had a couple hours to kill in like the 10 blocks between here and that apartment.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll go Starbucks. I'll also look up how long there has to be mice in the apartment for me to be able to leave without breaking the lease.
Oh,
the answer's 4 days.
I hate that you have to already be looking at how to break your lease.
I know.
Before moving in.
It's so... And again, it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be fine. I just wish that they could have given me the keys so that I could just like be like, oh, here's my new home. Let me just take a peek before we get the movers here.
Yep.
And then I could see it for myself and be like, there it is.
Yep.
That's not so bad.
Right.
Instead...
It could be mice when you walk
stressful
in.
Day. Very stressful day.
So 4 days, mice, if they're in the place for 4 days with notice, then it breaks the lease?
Yeah, so basically my understanding is there's like 10 or so things, 10 different categories of things that like the roof can't be like leaking. Like you got to have walls and stuff. And it kind of like cycles down from there, like heat and hot water, that sort of stuff. But basically like if you notify them in writing and they don't respond within 24 hours, then all of a sudden it's like they are in violation of the law. You're good to go. And if you have a lawyer, like my dad, who actually is still licensed to practice law in Colorado, which is
that's huge.
I know, no, that's kind of the X factor here. So I'm in good shape. But then they probably have to pay like your moving fees and that stuff too. But then if they do respond but don't like take steps to fix it within 4 days, also you get out of it. But again, hopefully it's fine. It's like I said, it's like 10 blocks from here, walking distance to Coors. Like,
man, I mean, great location. You can stumble home from the
cheapest
bar.
Available from in that location. Might have bit me in the ass.
Well, maybe you'll just have some roommates.
Maybe
just small roommates.
I just hope they're funny like Mickey.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're that entertaining, I'm down.
Well, Henry, we need your legal advice for the Broncos helmets. Is this something that people like or something that people are going to try to ban? Because yesterday the Broncos put out a cryptic, I don't really know how cryptic it was, tweet that here we've got on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube, says coming soon with eyes. And if you look, it's a white helmet It says debuting in fall 2023. And very easy to figure out what this is. They're debuting alternate helmets. Unless they're throwing us off with how this looks, it looks like it's going to be a pretty much all-white helmet.
It does. Maybe there's like a fade in the back. So let's just start at the beginning. So they have the navy blue helmet.
Yep.
So you get to use the alternate helmet, which you can wear with your Color Rush uniforms for 2 games per year.
Yep.
So those are the orange ones. Their options basically are to go with a white helmet.
Wait, what are the orange ones?
The orange with like the stripes on the side.
Oh, the jerseys.
The
yes,
jerseys,
yes, yes.
yeah. But then, so your options are really to get a white helmet or an orange helmet. Because there's like that throwback blue, but that would not make any sense because you'd just be throwing another blue into those uniforms.
And because they have that, they've worn that combo already with their color rushes in the past. They've just worn the blue helmet.
True. And so like you could try that little light blue thing. That's more of like a future change all the colors, get new uniforms. Because you can't actually get any new uniforms this quickly.
You're
like
putting this helmet with one of the uniforms you have.
And the one caveat would be like if the Broncos had put something in motion to get uniforms by now, but from everything we've seen, it seems like the past ownership group was just like, well, this is not our job. Like,
they literally said that.
Did they come out
was like,
and say
I'm not doing anything. I'm going to let the new owners do it.
And so the new owners came in August, so they would not have had a chance to go through the entire process by now. So there's no new uniforms, but white helmet and white or orange. I mean, with those orange jerseys, especially if they're wearing the orange pants, sure, give me the white. I can't take any more orange.
Yeah, I'm going to say I would have been okay with the orange, but I like the idea of a white helmet. We were talking with Dre before this, which stay tuned. He's going to be on to give us some draft news later in the week. But he was saying just how garbage and trash and horrendous. And I thought he was going to have to call Henry the lawyer in order to sue the Broncos for even potentially putting this idea out there. But I like it right now. We've got some ideas of what it could look like. Let's pull a couple ideas up. One coming in from someone on Twitter. This, obviously, you just have to look at the helmet for this one because like Henry said, there's not going to be these jerseys to go with it. Although, if they get this, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
A fabulous jersey and helmet color combo. And I'm not really even a jersey guy, but this would be amazing.
Yeah, no, that looks great. I will say, whenever you go all white, it's going to look much, much, much better on players who are built like Justin Simmons than a Quinn Minards.
Maybe that's why they put Justin in this and not one of the offensive linemen.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that the all white would look pretty silly.
Slimming or
no,
the opposite?
It is the opposite.
So does that mean it's fattening?
It is very fattening, especially when you're wearing the tight pants and the tight jersey.
That's true.
And again, like
you couldn't be Mark Schlereth and be like peeing yourself in the game.
You could definitely not do that. You would definitely not want to be doing that. And also, like, again, like white helmet on Justin Simmons with a visor, with him being as cool as he is.
It's true.
Looks sick.
Yep. With the armband and stuff. Yeah.
When you got a plump offensive lineman or defensive lineman throw the white helmet, you might just say like, wait, doing a little too much. But I totally agree. This looks awesome. This does look awesome.
Is there any way we can zoom in on the helmet itself? Because I love this, the white plus the old school D. I think that's what people really want to see is the old school D back. Like if it's this helmet with the Bronco, yeah, it's different. It's fine. I don't know if it's like great, but I think that's a big component of the new helmet is that it's the old school D. I think that's what people want.
And I think you're definitely not going to see them debut a new logo on an alternate helmet a year before they probably change their uniforms.
No, definitely not.
So it is going to be one of those, you would think.
Yeah, and now the difference with this helmet and the one that the Broncos tweeted out where you only get to see a little bit of it is there's stripes on this one.
Yep.
If the Broncos were showing part of the actual helmet, there's no stripes that go all the way down. So there's no chance it looks like this one if they were telling the truth. We also have an idea of what one could look like with the Bronco helmet on. This is actually a helmet sold on NFL.com. It doesn't mean that it's part of the Broncos rotation at all. It's just like if you want to commemorative one or something like that. This is what it looks like. So this is kind of, and see, I mean, it's not bad. It's just like, okay, well, we didn't put much effort into this. All we did was take the helmet we have and make the background white.
Yeah, the white on white is interesting. And I mean, I don't know. Like if you're playing a snow game, maybe it looks cool. Like on the all white. I just think that like the all white is kind of played out. Like there's a lot of teams, maybe not that the helmet so much, but like all white's a thing, or like the all black is a thing now, and the all just like there's very little creativity. There's no personality.
Okay, so now you're gonna hate what I'm gonna say next, because I thought one cool idea could actually be. So you call this all white for the most part?
Yeah.
I'm saying all white, but all white. So like the outline of the horse isn't blue and orange. It's like silver, little metallic white silver, and then everything else is just pure white. And the reason that I first thought of that was all we see on the Broncos' little tweeted helmet is only white. There's no colors anywhere. So maybe they're going for something like that.
It's possible. It is possible. I do think that, I don't know. Like sometimes when you try to just make it, the word that people like to use the word clean a lot. It's like, it looks clean.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get to the point where it's like, okay, it's clean, but also like, what team are you?
It's
like,
literally whitewashed.
You're doing like, this is just the most generic type thing.
Yeah.
And I will say, it's cool that they're going to get a new helmet and it'll be fun and the new uniforms will be fun. But also, like I never saw them play a game without the helmet that they've worn. Like, it's going to be weird seeing the Denver Broncos in a helmet other than that one. I know there's people older than me who went through a few helmets even, but I don't know. Anytime you make a change, you lose a piece of your identity, and you can build it back. And if it's a good uniform that you can stick with for 25 years, or this is the alternate helmet that they have when they bring in a primary uniform, and then it could be a great decision. But any sort of change like that I'm a little hesitant.
Well, it sounds like people really love my idea. We have Darcy coming in the comments and says, Zach's just described the most disgusting helmet I've ever pictured in my life. Thanks for tuning in and giving me your feedback. Let us know what you think, not just of my idea, but of the Broncos helmets. What do you want them to look like? Now, I don't think what I said is going to happen, because one of the things in the surveys that the Broncos have sent out about uniforms, about the stadium, and that I've been impressed with is there's been kind of an emphasis on how important is tradition. How much do you want to see things that have been part of the Broncos tradition continue? And I think just like you, 95% of fans want tradition in some way to continue. So whiting out or doing all blackout or so, that's just, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that would be very tone deaf of the new ownership to do that. And I don't think they're tone deaf to this.
Yeah. And that's where, like, if the Titans want to just totally restart and build the Tennessee Titans up from scratch, sure, makes sense. Like, not just to take shots at one like the Jaguars could do that again. They do that every once in a while. Like, there's a solid half the league that they don't have an era that you point back to. Right. Whereas, like, the Broncos are lucky enough to be one of the teams with history and tradition, and like you'll never see the Steelers change their uniform. No. That'll just never happen.
No.
You'll never see the Chiefs change theirs either.
No.
You'll never see the Packers change their. Like, they'll make the little tweaks, like maybe change the stripes up a little bit. But the Broncos are one of those historic teams, and you know, it's a little different just because they did make the extreme rebrand in the 90s.
Right.
Which is because I guess they weren't super historic at that point.
Right.
Like they became historic right after. They had just been around a while. So, I don't know. I don't need a big new redesign. I think I'm in line with 90% of other people and just say, find a way to freshen up what you did in the 80s, and it'll be pretty sick.
Yep. And then that is going to be totally different from what they have now, but you're still drawing back on history. And I think that's why this new alternate helmet should be the old school D. Do you agree?
Yeah. I think it's everybody wants it. We just haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah.
Like, I guess kind of on the color rush, but it just feels wrong on there.
Right.
The dark blue is...
Yeah.
Those were bad uniforms. I know everybody loves them, but I'm just not a fan.
I think they love them, especially those alternate helmets, because it's just the old school D.
Yeah, definitely.
And that kind of covered up everything else, all the other wrong things with it. So if they make a cool one with the D, I think that's going to be winning. Speaking of winning, Brandon Marshall thinks the Broncos are going to be doing a lot of it. And if you think that Brandon Marshall is right, head over to DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can bet on the Broncos over, under. We're going to get into it. The over-under on DraftKings for the Broncos wins is 8.5. Brandon Marshall thinks they hit that in the first 11 weeks, maybe even the first 10 weeks of the season, and you get the full season in order for the Broncos to hit that over-under. If you want to do that, check out our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that promo code DNVR when you sign up. And if you bet on UFC 287 this weekend, you place a $5 bet on one of the pre-fight money lines, they're going to give you $150 in bonus bets if that fighter wins. So just pick a fighter you believe in, bet $5, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if that fighter wins. So check them out. Alex Pereira is going on. Some middleweight title fights happening as well. So check them out for UFC 287. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up in order to get this offer. That's promo code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
And also, call up, no, I guess you can't call Shady Rays, can you? You can go to the website, though, and get some awesome deals. So Shady Rays, they make great sunglasses. I wear mine basically every day. Today was actually the first day in a long time that I didn't. Because even in the snow, I usually do, but today was like a gloomy snow.
Yeah, and it's wasn't really sticking on the ground where the sun's bouncing up off it.
But just about every other day. I'm actually going to San Diego tomorrow.
Ooh.
Which will be a lot less stressful if I'm not homeless. But I'll be wearing my Shady Rays a lot in San Diego. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. And right now, use the code DNVR either on their website or at their store at the Park Meadows Mall. You can get 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's a deal exclusively for our listeners. Use that code DNVR. You can try for yourself. These shades are rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. So go to the website, go to Park Meadows Mall, use that code DNVR.
Brandon Marshall, former Denver Broncos star wide receiver, known for catching 2 passes in a game, 30 targets, just an absolute beast. Now he's becoming a beast on the internet. He's got his own show, I Am Athlete, and he's absolutely crushing it.
Yep.
And he thinks the Denver Broncos are going to crush it as well. Yeah, here, let's pull up the clip of Brandon Marshall talking about how he sees the Broncos just taking over the league this year.
My guy, Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos up there, and I'm glad he said I'm going to nitpick there. Yeah, let's ride. He's going to be riding this year.
You think he's going to retire this year? Because it didn't work for him last year.
No, I think what's going to happen, we're going to see Let's Ride come back to life.
I don't want to see Let's Ride.
It's going to happen probably week 11 or week 12.
No.
When they're sitting there, 10-1 or 10-2.
Who's 10-1?
The Denver Broncos.
The Denver Broncos. That's what you're projecting. Projecting.
Because that's why I wanted to push back on your take on the Denver Broncos and why they're on this list, because I actually think they had a great offseason. They go out there and they get Sean Payton. Check. Legendary Hall of Fame coach and play caller on the offensive side. So this whole conversation, who's going to fix Russ? I think they're going to be right where they need to be. They go get stability on the offensive line, and they make a few small moves but very powerful moves on the defensive side, because they are top 5 and they did need a lot, but they have depth now. They added more depth. So I think that the Denver Broncos had a sneaky good offseason.
You have them week 12 being 10-1. Is that what you just said? You have them week 12 being 10-1.
It could be 10-1. They could be 9-2. All of that. Yes. They're gonna get off to a hot start, and they're gonna sustain. 100%.
And Let's Ride is coming back.
Whoo! I mean, not only did Brandon Marshall say everything he said with confidence, but he was getting trolled the entire time.
He was.
And he still stuck to his guns. He still pushed through. I mean, he really believes it, Henry.
He does. And again, I've got a little happy hour. Wow. Gonna be a lot of happy hours starting tomorrow.
Man, happy hour Tuesday at noon. I like it.
Oof, yeah, that would be nice.
I think we could all use a happy hour right now.
I'm willing to buy in, at least right now. I think that on a normal day, I'd say, are we really that sure they're a 500 team? But today, sure, why not? I'll get excited. First of all, sneaky good offseason. They brought in one of the best coaches in the NFL and spent $40 million more than any other team in free agency. Like, that's not too sneaky, is it?
Yeah, no, especially right now before the draft.
Exactly.
They've won the head coaching cycle, especially since Harbaugh didn't go to another team. I think it's easy to say they won the head coaching cycle. The coaching staff looks great right now, or looks good. I think some people might question Vance Joseph, but I think it looks good. And then also, free agency. They spent $250 million in free agency. The next team spent like $200.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and that's just the outside stuff. Like, I think there's a lot of things that people forget about last season because they try to forget as much of it as they can.
Smart.
But there's potential for like just the injury luck, for example.
Yeah.
Again, that's like kind of a 5-year trend or even more. And so who knows? Maybe that's just who the Broncos are, an injured football team. But you have to remember, like, the Broncos gave the most cash to players last season who finished the season on injured reserve. They have the most ACLs in the NFL in 3 of the last 4 years, or tied in 2 of those for what it's worth, because there are a few that were tied. They finished in the top 5 in total cap hits for players who finished the year on injured reserve in 4 of the past 5 seasons. The other season was 2019 when they had the 6th most. So they were just one step outside. So they've had this consistent, terrible injury luck. And at that point, maybe it's not luck. Maybe you're doing something wrong.
Right.
But imagine if they were totally healthy last year, I think they win at least 3 more games.
Well, so before we even jump into that, to continue off of what you're saying, maybe it wasn't luck. Maybe it was things were going wrong. But regardless if it was luck or things were going wrong, the Broncos completely revamped that side of. So it's not just what they did with the head coach. It's not just what they did with the rest of the coaching staff. It's not just what they did in free agency. It's also what they're doing to help prevent injuries. They brought Bo Lowry in, who, boy, George Paton, Sean Payton, the Walton Penners, couldn't talk highly enough of him. Sean Payton has worked with him in the past, and he's been great. He's coming in to completely revamp the way the Broncos train, the way they get ready, in order to avoid those injuries. So that's a big one right there. Also, before the season ended last year, the Walton, or it was Greg Penner, said, we're doing everything this offseason to make sure that we don't get injured. Greg Penner's been flying to New York to talk with like the head doctor of the NFL. So you would think all of these things lining up, whether it was luck or whether they're actually just changing it themselves, that they're not going to have as bad of injury luck. Maybe they're not going to be the Chiefs where like, what, week 17, the Chiefs had like one guy for $2 million on the injured reserve or something. I mean, they had like nothing, but at least middle of the pack. And then if they're middle of the pack, then what you're saying about that's 1 to 2 wins right off the top, not even factoring in Sean Payton, not even factoring in Russell Wilson potentially being better, not even factoring the offensive line being better as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, during the season, it's really easy to think, wow, this sucks. Like, I wish I had Garrett Bowles and Tim Patrick and Javonte Williams and whoever else in any given week, because there was always at least a couple more that were gone. It is worth going back and thinking about it, though, because it is ridiculous. And it's one of those things where you can just look at all of the guys who were hurt and the teams that were hurt and see that impact. Like, I'm trying to pull it up right now, but adjusted games lost. That's the Football Outsiders stat where they track how many games were missed by players. Broncos are the worst. Second worst, the Rams. Notably bad season from them, a surprisingly bad season.
Yeah, I mean, Super Bowl to 4 wins, 5 wins?
Yeah, you have Arizona in there. You have Tampa Bay in there, which again, it's like, wow, Tampa. Yeah. They sure disappointed last year. Well, guess what? It all just adds up. You look at the healthiest teams. It's like Pittsburgh, Jacksonville made it back to the playoffs. Philly's number 3. Kansas City's number 4. Minnesota's number 5. Like, there really is a massive correlation between staying healthy and winning a lot of games. And again, who knows if they can actually turn it around in one offseason? Like, they still do have Randy Gregory. They still have KJ Hamler. Like, maybe those guys just keep getting hurt, but you have to expect them to not take dead last again.
Yeah, you're right. So that's a huge component. Yep. Another component, one that we've mentioned but haven't really dove into, Sean Payton himself. It's easy to look at him and be like, okay, probably a Hall of Fame head coach, maybe even just a Hall of Fame offensive mind. But when you look at what he's done, the only other time that he's taken over a team, the turnaround was incredible. And people think, okay, well, Sean Payton's got a lot of work to do with this Broncos team. And people aren't wrong. A 5-12 team with the worst offense in the NFL. Henry, when he took over the New Orleans Saints back in 2006, in 2005, the year before he took over, the Saints were worse than the Broncos were this past year. 3-13.
Oof. And they've been consistently bad before that.
Exactly. Yes. They had the second worst scoring offense in the NFL when he took over. Broncos, the worst scoring offense. So Sean Payton, a little bit more work to do. But in terms of the overall team, by record, Broncos were better than those Saints. What did Sean Payton do? He took a 3-13 team and had them go 10-6 his first year on the job. He took the second worst offense in the NFL and had them be a top 5 offense. So Sean Payton doesn't even have to be that good. If he takes the worst offense in the NFL last year and makes them borderline top 5, this team is absolutely hitting the over of the 8.5 wins. They're going to be a double-digit win team. Now, it's just where those wins come. But you can look at the only time Sean Payton has done this and say, oh, it's not crazy to expect a massive turnaround.
Definitely. And there's just so many little things that went wrong last year.
Details.
The details. They were terrible at the details. Again, you just have a real coach and a real coaching staff.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's tough to quantify how much of an impact the special teams had. And that's pretty far down the list of things that went wrong last year.
Right.
But, for example, if McManus didn't miss a kick all season, they wouldn't have been 32nd in scoring. They would have been 25th.
Oh,
which
okay.
isn't like great, but and you can't expect anybody to make every kick. But moving from 32 to 29 because you just play the kicking game a little bit better.
Yep.
That can get. I mean, you have the health, which maybe brings it from 29 to 20. Like these things all stack up, and they still have to work and they still have to execute, and they do still have to stay healthy too. But there's no reason they shouldn't be much better than 5 wins. Like, this roster is better than 5 wins.
Yeah, and the coaching staff is clearly very much upgraded as well. And I think there's even a couple more reasons why what Brandon Marshall's saying is a long shot. I wouldn't be putting my money on it saying, like, it's a great bet to put your mortgage on, but why it's not out of the realm of possibility. First, I got to tell you about our friends over at Backus and Schenker, because if you run into trouble, there's an automobile accident, a pedestrian, rideshare, trucks, car accidents, anything, and you need help, call our friends over at Backus and Schenker. We've met them. They are great people who have gone through these terrible experiences as well. So not only are they great lawyers that have won over $1 billion for their clients in cases, but they also know how to relate with you during these tough times, because this is something that they hope that no one ever has to go through, but inevitably accidents are going to happen. And if you need help, call Backus and Schenker at 222-2222 to set up a free consultation. There's no fee while they work on your case. There's no fee unless they win your case. And like I said, over $1 billion won for their clients. So check them out over at Backus and Schenker. They have 100 people on staff, over 30 lawyers, and they are great at what they do. So if you need to win, call Backus at Schenker, 222-2222. Okay, Henry, another thing that plays into this of why the Broncos could have a good start. When we went through the schedule, being realistic, not even trying to be optimistic and see, okay, well, they might be able to pull this win out. No, when we were just realistic last week, we had them winning 9 games, just over that 8.5 wins. Let's actually pull the schedule up right now, because one of the things the Broncos benefit from having a really bad year last year is the Broncos have the 4th place schedule. That means they have the easiest schedule in the AFC West. And we look at these games that are on the screen right now. Henry, if the schedule unfolds in a way where they don't play the Chiefs until week 12 and the Bills until after week 12, and so they don't have to play those 3 games until the final 5 games of the season, that's a brutal way to end the season.
It is.
But kind of viewing it from Brandon Marshall's standpoint of going 9-2, 10-1, they could win 9 of those remaining games. I mean, it's not crazy to look and say the Bears, the Texans, the Lions. We think that they're going to pull a game out against the Chargers, maybe the Raiders as well. The Dolphins, Browns, Commanders, Vikings, Patriots. Patriots seem to be in a mess over these past 24 hours. So, I mean, it's not crazy to say that Broncos could get off to a hot start if the schedule falls right.
Yeah, and I actually wrote a thing on the website. I just guessed all the betting lines for these games.
I love that.
And it was actually really hard because you have to actually think about it. It's like, okay, there's a 2.5 point home field advantage.
Yep.
And so that means that the order of which games are easiest and hardest, weird. Really weird. Like, it didn't come out nearly how I thought it was. But yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I have at the Texans as the easiest.
What was the spread?
8 points.
At the okay, I like it.
10.5 at a neutral field.
Yeah. Dang.
4.5 point favorite versus the Commanders is second.
Okay, at home.
Yep. And so that'd be a 2 point on neutral field.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that.
3.5 at home against the Patriots and the Raiders.
Wow. Okay. Man, a team that the Broncos have had struggles
I know.
with the Raiders.
They've lost 6 in a row to them. They haven't beat the Raiders in on the road since Super Bowl 50. That was more recent than their first. You forget because of the Chiefs streak.
Yeah, exactly.
The Chiefs streak takes all the headlines.
Yep.
But yeah, that one's kind of boiling up. The next one, 3-point favor against the Packers at home, 2.5 against the Browns at home.
Yep.
At the Bears -2.
Yep.
But then I guess
I like those lines.
So if they say say they start 10-1, they probably finish. Say they finish with 3 losses. So I guess those would be at the Chiefs, at the Bills versus the Chiefs.
Yep.
At the Chargers, I think would be the toughest game.
Outside of that.
Agreed. Then at the Dolphins.
Yep. What do you have them dogs in that? The Dolphins?
Yep.
Yeah,
5.5, 4.5. Then 3.5
yep.
at the Dolphins.
Yep.
Or sorry, 2.5 at the Lions. Even on a neutral field. Yeah.
I like
again,
that.
These aren't scary games.
No.
You have 3 scary games.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly, 3 games where you're kind of crazy if you look at them and you're like, the Broncos will win that. Maybe you think the Broncos somehow steal one against the Chiefs, but you can't make a convincing case in one game that the Broncos are going to beat the Chiefs or the Bills. But outside of that, every other game, in my opinion, I'm taking the Jets. I think that's a really scary game.
I had that as a pick 'em.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
A pick 'em at home.
2.5 points on neutral site for the Jets.
Man, I think it's going to be more difficult. But, I mean, that could be the one loss in the first 10 games when they go 9-1 or 10-1 or 9-2, like Brandon Marshall's saying. But obviously, the Broncos are going to have to be a good team in order to beat all of these coin toss games.
Yep.
But they're there for the taking, and that is how that's a big reason why you see teams go from worst to first or worst to the playoffs, is because you get a benefit of a bad schedule, and the Broncos were finally seeing that. It feels like every year the Broncos finish 3rd or 4th in the division over these past 5 or 6 years, and their schedule is still brutal.
Yep.
Now, when you look at it now, it's like, okay, there's actually some should be easy winnable games here, finally.
And that's what you think now, but then it's like, oh, Deshaun Watson got back to being himself.
Right.
Oh, Justin Fields really is that good.
Right.
Or, the Jets, obviously. Like the Lions. Maybe
Right.
the Lions take that step. So it definitely looks better right now when you're closer to the terrible seasons that got them on the Broncos schedule. But as of now, it does. I mean, especially with the home road splits.
Right.
You love the way that lines up.
Yeah, you do. And then obviously the biggest thing to the Broncos playing well, are we going to see last year's Russ? 10-1's impossible.
Yep.
9-2 would not happen if Russ is anywhere close to what he was last year. And that's a huge if, of course.
Yeah.
But if anyone was going to be able to turn Russ around, I got to think it's Sean Payton.
Yep.
And so they've got the perfect guy to have the chance to do that, to turn it around. And if he goes back to what he was even 2 years ago, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, you take that, and that gives you a chance to be this good. And of course, we're not saying it's going to be 9-2, but what if it's 7-3? What an amazing start to the season that would be.
Oh, that'd be incredible. What's the line for you being like super excited about it? Like not just like, oh, this is good, but like, oh boy, this is a lot of fun.
Like for this year?
This year, first 10 games.
7-3 would be like over the moon. 6-4, I think you're feeling really good about.
I'd be hyped.
You're happy.
Yep.
I think for this long term, you're really happy with 6-4. For this year, I'm not sure over the moon, but I think 7-3.
That's fair. I think if the Broncos were 6-4 through 2 games.
Through 2 games, that would be impressive. That'd be really impressive.
Through 10 games, that would be incredible.
It would be.
I mean, just the fact that the season isn't over at that point would be such a huge step in the right direction. Just playing competitive football in December.
Yep.
Like the fact that Nathaniel Hackett just assumed that that was going to happen. It's like, we're going to rest guys because that's when the big games happen. It's like, no. You need to make those games happen.
He was too much in the Green Bay Packers mindset.
Yes.
He was coaching under Matt LaFleur, who was the winningest coach in NFL history in his first 3 years with the Packers. Nathaniel Hackett was in that mindset. Like, we had Aaron Rodgers, now we have Russell Wilson. We are going to be good come that time. I don't know if he ever put himself in the mindset of, well, what happens if we aren't? What happens if we get off to a slow start? What happens if it takes time to build an offense together? And that was probably one of the worst assumptions that Nathaniel Hackett could have made that in his year there.
Definitely. I also wonder what the Broncos' record would be if they'd played in the NFC.
It
would have been better.
Last year. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go against Chiefs.
Yeah,
you don't lose 2 games against the Raiders, although those shouldn't have been difficult games, but they're difficult now.
Yeah. You even see, like, that Seahawks game was a toss-up. Like, that came all the way down to the wire. Like, that one could have gone either way, and that's a game against the last playoff team in the NFC.
Right.
You're not that far off. Then you look at the AFC and say, like, the Dolphins.
Right.
The Dolphins are scary. Like, there's a lot more scary teams in the AFC. The NFC.
Firepower is there.
Definitely. And, I mean, that's also on the road against the Seahawks. But maybe they got worse, or maybe that's not how they played all season.
No, I mean, it sets up where the Broncos could shock the world. And I think what Brandon Marshall said is certainly shocking the world. But also, it shows kind of the margin of error. The Broncos do have a margin of error now because they don't have to go 10-1. They don't have to go 9-2, 6-4. On top of everything we just talked about, about why they could go 9-2, why they could go 10-1, things go wrong, and you're 6-4. Still a very good place to be.
Definitely.
A very good place to be. You know where else is a good place to be? Ball Arena.
Yes.
Right now, playoffs starting this month for Nuggets and Avs. And if you want to be there, check out our friends over at Game Time. Click the link in our description. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there. If you're listening on the podcast side, it's in the description on your podcast. Click that link. It's going to take you to all of the Denver events that you want to go to. And like I said, no better time than Avs playoffs, than Nuggets playoffs. Right now, Henry, I put you on the spot. Who makes it further in the playoffs, Nuggets or Avs?
Nuggets.
That was a pretty quick answer. You didn't have to think about it.
The Avs just play bad too often. Like, there's too many times you watch them and it's like, ooh, like, I don't know. I think the Avs are really good. If they lose in the first round, you're going to be like, yeah, they weren't themselves this year.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. They certainly haven't been their dominant selves just consistently. For me, I'm going the Avs. I don't know if that's a good thing that we disagree or a bad thing.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, both teams obviously have the talent to go as far as they want. But if you want to see them, click on that link you hear is highlighting it on YouTube right now. Click on that and takes you right to, also forgot about the Rockies.
Oh, yeah.
The Rockies are playing tomorrow at Coors Field. If you want to go to the home opener, check out Game Time where they've got flash deals going on. You can see exactly what your seat's going to look like. So check them out. We're going to be over at the Ice House tomorrow for pregame leading up to the game, during the game. So come swing by the Ice House, just like a block and a half away from Coors Field. It's a great setup there. We're actually, not tomorrow. I'm sorry. Thursday is when all of this is taking place. Our pod's going to be an early one on Thursday. Normal time tomorrow, but make sure to check out Game Time. All right, Henry, shall we talk to the people? Wait, anything else? Anything else you wanna throw out there?
It's kind of crazy that Brandon Marshall had over 1,300 receiving yards in 2007 and didn't make the Pro Bowl.
No way.
Yeah, but
was he gypped or were there just that many good receivers?
He so NFL leader 1510 for Reggie Wayne, Randy Moss 1493 with New England, Chad Johnson with Cincinnati 1440. And you had Larry Fitzgerald and Terrell Owens in the NFC. So he would have been the number 4 in the AFC. And he was 40 yards ahead of Braylon Edwards. And he was I think the final Pro Bowler.
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns? Did Brandon lack in touchdowns or catches?
7 touchdowns. And Braylon Edwards had 16.
Oh, wow.
So that's solid.
Yeah, I guess I'd take 9 touchdowns and 40 less yards. 9 more touchdowns, 40 less yards.
Yeah, that's tough to...
Damn, that's insane.
Wow.
Brandon Marshall, beast.
1325, 2007. How old was he? He was 23.
Not only amazing stats, but just the way he played was so incredible because you literally had to have 2 people take him down.
Definitely.
He would just, the first defender would just bounce off him. It looked like me trying to tackle him.
So that was his second season. As a rookie, he played 15 games, started 1, had 20 catches for 309 yards.
And that was his second season?
Yep. Year 2, he was 23.
Oh, my gosh.
Jerry Jeudy, now 23.
Oh.
Well, okay. For you to take the bet that Jerry Judy's going to put up those numbers, 1325 receiving, 7 touchdowns. You need 4 to 1? More than that?
I was going to say 3.
3-1?
3-1.
Okay.
See, I am high on Jerry
Yeah.
and what he could do. It's just, man, it just seemed like for 4 years when Peyton was here, that those numbers were just like easy to get. Because Demarius, Emmanuel, they were both putting them up every single year, and it's just like a given. And then Peyton leaves, and especially these past few years, it's like 1,000-yard receiver is the most difficult thing to find.
And the Broncos have just always had a guy like that.
Right.
Like Demarius is putting up 1,000 a year, regardless. Like even before Peyton, before him it was Brandon Marshall. Because there would have been like a year in between.
Demarius's good years too, like great years, just casually 1,500 yards. I mean, for like 4 years, didn't he average like 1,400 yards?
Yep.
And that was just kind of like Demarius is going to go out and put up 1,400 yards this year, and it was just so taken for granted.
Yeah. So let's see, 2012. So Peyton's first year. 1434, 1430, 1619, 1304.
Yep.
And then 1083 the year after Peyton. And those were his 1,000-yard seasons.
A 1,000-yard season with Trevor Siemian making his first starts in the NFL.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and then before Marshall, you had, even, I guess, crossing over a little bit, you have Rod Smith. And Ed McCaffrey was right before that.
Yep.
And
Rod Smith, maybe one of the best undrafted players in NFL history.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I wonder, so like the Broncos last year, that their best receiver was the worst it's been since, I don't know. And I guess maybe even the year before, it's kind of the same thing.
These past couple of years.
But even Sutton had a better year a couple years before that.
Yep.
But I mean, you're looking at probably like the mid-90s.
It's
2010.
I just cannot believe how difficult it is to find a 1,000-yard receiver nowadays.
Yeah.
Not to find, but because I believe that Sutton obviously is capable. He's done it before, and I think Judy's very capable of it. But how difficult it has been for the Broncos to just have offense, have a passing game.
The year in between with, I guess Demarius potentially was a rookie. Maybe I think a rookie in 2010. But that was Brandon Lloyd put up 1448.
Wow.
Which I forgot about, but that was the one year in there that you'd think about.
With Kyle Orton?
Yeah.
Kyle Orton and Brandon Lloyd put up 1,400 yards, and Jerry Jeudy and Russell Wilson put up 9-something last year.
922.
Wow. And Brandon Lloyd, I mean, what a fun season to watch. You would throw it in anywhere close to him, just his side of the field, and his long arms would come down with it. I mean, I'm not trying to take away anything from Brandon Lloyd, but maybe I'm trying to take something away from Kyle Orton.
That's fair.
Because, I mean, just shows how just unpredictable last year was.
And so let's see, there's 22 people, because it's not just receivers, there's a couple tight ends, one tight end, I guess. 22 people with 1,000 yards last year. The year before it was 26. 2020 was 18.
So I mean, that shows you though that you
half
should,
the league at least.
Yeah, in a 3-year span, you should in a 2-year span, you should at least have one. Yet the Broncos in the past 3 years have had 0.
Yeah,
because Cortland had it 4 years ago, right?
And then 2019 there were 29. Mike Williams at 1,001, Christian McCaffrey at 1,005.
Wow.
DJ Chark at 1,008. So there were a couple that barely.
That was Cortland's year, right?
Yeah.
When he also had it.
Yep. That was.
That's what I'm saying, man. That year was good, but he was one of 29 people to do it.
He was finished, 19th with 2 tight ends in front of him. So 17th among receivers.
Dang. Who led the league that year?
Michael Thomas.
How many did he have?
1725.
Man,
Julio
is
was second with 1394.
Man, Michael Thomas and Julio Jones, those two seem just like so far
They do.
away. And maybe Michael Thomas comes back and does it this year.
Just turned 30.
That is nuts. And did you see he's hurt again?
I believe it.
It's crazy. So obviously he's not in the Broncos plans.
No.
But what's in our plans is talking to the people. Let's jump into the comment section on the website. Nash Bronco says, I'm so glad Timmy Pat will be back healthy this year. I'm feeling a big year out of him, especially after his derogatory comments towards our hated rivals yesterday. Hank should give them a listen.
Wow.
Did you hear what Timmy Pat said?
Let's see. So the Raiders won.
I was shocked.
It was,
how candid he was about how he feels about these
Did he just
teams.
call them losers?
That would have been the mildest comment if he called them losers.
So let's see. We should say this is the Broncos Avenue podcast.
Okay.
Which I've never heard of. which sounds like a shot, not meant to be.
Yeah, it did seem like a shot.
When it came out, I was like, no. So here's the quote. Chiefs are cocky little shits. Raiders are a group of fake thugs. They got their winning streak right now, but that shit's over with.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's spicy.
And again, he's choosing to talk about the two teams who the Broncos have a combined 20 game losing streak
6 and
too.
15, yeah.
I mean, I love the confidence. Tim Patrick is one to drop F-bombs when we're on podiums with him. And I just love the way Tim is. The Broncos need that mentality and fire.
Yep.
You got to back it up. After you're calling them thugs, losing thugs or something.
Fake thugs.
Fake thugs and the Chiefs losers.
It's awesome. I mean, this is one of those things, because again, like I started in July, so I never really spent much time with Tim Patrick because it's just training camp till he got hurt.
Yep.
Then everybody's like, yeah, you know, they're going to really miss the leadership traits.
Yeah.
The leadership. And now I'm finally getting a point where it's like, oh, it's not like Russell Wilson leadership. He's one of the ass kickers.
Yeah,
like that's one of the things that really was missing is, or like
it's
TJ Ward.
Yeah. Aqib
Talib
guy that
tough
is one of the guys without a doubt, but he's also not afraid to chew you out.
Exactly.
If that needs to be. Everyone loved Aqib Talib, but also. Yeah, you have that scared respect.
Everybody's scared,
for Aqib.
Wow.
And that's exactly what Tim Patrick is.
Yeah, which is, I mean, they really need it.
They
really
do.
need it.
Especially because of, I think Tim and Russ can be a great leadership combo.
Exactly, yeah.
But you lose one half of that, and then it's like, you know, you're missing the half that you need.
And it's Russ and Hackett at that point.
Right.
Which is even, even more.
Yep.
But then you think about, like, when was Russell Wilson successful? It was when you had the defense that had plenty of Tim Patricks.
Yes, that defense was not afraid to get on people.
No.
That's for sure. So, yeah.
Especially Russell now.
That, really good point. Really good point.
That'd be so good.
G-Ham, this one's directed straight at Henry.
Oh,
Survivor, way better than Amazing Race.
Of course. I mean, that's obvious.
Well, you never talk about Survivor.
I mean, I feel like it's not as applicable.
How is the Amazing Race then applicable in anything we talk about?
I guess it wasn't super applicable. Yes, I just said that's a cool show, didn't I? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't come up often. I will say I had watched like 3 seasons of Survivor, and then I was like, I haven't watched The Amazing Race since I was like 9. And so that's why I watched the season of Amazing Race. Oh, it came up because Rex Ryan was on that season. And that's why we were talking about
who was in it.
That's why it's applicable.
It didn't get brought up yesterday, though.
No.
Yeah,
we didn't talk
yesterday was just
we
completely
didn't talk about Rex
random.
yesterday.
That was in like January when it came up. But yeah, I mean, Survivor, that's a great show. And it holds up because you can just keep doing the same things. The issue with The Amazing Race is it's like, I mean, I could just get to Europe by the end of the day.
It's true.
Like, it's not that hard to do anymore.
You think you could get to Europe if I said, here's $5,000, try to get to Europe right now before midnight Denver time?
So then the Amazing Race would be like, but then you have to stop here, and there's this, you have to learn how to do this dance and perform it to the traditional dancers, and they won't let you go until then, and then like you get like this key to something where you got to go find it. Yeah.
But it's 101 right now. Do you think you could be in Europe by midnight Denver time right now?
I think I could.
You think you
if,
could?
If the goal is just like Europe as a whole, yep. It's if you said like London, Paris, then I think it might be tough.
Okay, so like anywhere, like because the flight options would be more.
Exactly.
You gotta be jumping on a flight at like 3:30.
Exactly. 3:30 flight, and it'd be an 8-hour flight.
So the shortest flight is 9 hours, by the way.
I think they get down to like 8.
So
I was thinking 8 was my number.
Ubering to the airport right now. In your Uber, you're buying the flight on your phone.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm also saying the shortest flight to Europe is only 9 hours.
Shit. Yeah,
so that
London's
means you'd have
9.
to be on. So you have to be getting on a plane at 3.
Maybe not.
And that's not what. That's like counting delays.
Right.
If there's even planes at that time, like, or like you gotta fly into New York and then fly into London.
Maybe we get this sponsored somehow.
That would be fun.
Randomly one day, maybe a day when you're not moving, we just send you out of here.
Yeah, today would be a bad day. I'm just hoping that I can get into that apartment by that time.
Speaking of which, we got to wrap soon, so you can get to
True.
you can meet your movers. Let's hit a couple more questions really quick. The count says it's 3rd and 8. The Broncos are down by 6, and there's 50 seconds left on the clock. So 3rd and 8, down by 6. 50 seconds left on the clock. A wide receiver of your choice has to make a contested catch in order to continue a chance at victory. Who is it? You may select any Broncos receiver from the post-Peyton Manning era forward.
Oof.
Choose wisely. Love the count.
I think
Post-Peyton Manning era. I mean, we just talked about a lot of these guys.
it's true. I mean, there's
2 that jump out to me.
exactly. It's got to be Sutton or Patrick.
No, I disagree.
Really?
Well, I agree with one of them.
Okay. See, I guess Demarius did stick around.
It's not Demarius either.
Is it Emmanuel?
It's Manuel. In terms of just we're looking for a 3rd and 9 catch, and all I
That's
need
true.
is good hands.
He takes hits.
Emmanuel's coming down with balls. Emmanuel, I feel like, was such a trustworthy receiver when you threw it to him. And then obviously Tim Patrick. I mean, what's he have, like 2 drops in the past 3 years or something?
Yeah, that is true. I guess the drop numbers are kind of crazy. Sutton would be in there for me too. And I Demarius also. I mean, Demarius has to be. It is tight between those 4 though. Demarius is just so big.
He is so
Emmanuel
big.
just seems like he catches balls and takes hits and doesn't drop it though.
And see, that's what I'm not going for the big play. Where if you
Yep.
want to go for the big play, DT's your number
Yep.
one guy without a doubt. I'm just going for the most reliable 3rd and 9 catch. I'm going.
It might be Emmanuel.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it might be.
I love it. Denver Rival says, hey guys, long time no comment. I'm excited to see what the white helmets are going to be. I'm also excited for the DNVR golf tournament on May 5th when Rivals to end Alzheimer's Denver will be hanging out with y'all. Also, the week before, we are holding our season kickoff party, venue TBD, possibly the DNVR Bar. So let us know where that is, Denver Rivals. And he says, I can't agree with the quarterback need. However, we need another strong running back in the rotation for the direction of this team, the way it's going. I also feel like our realistic ceiling for the season is 10-7. The main reason is at best we go 3-3 in our division, 2-2 against the AFC East since we historically play bad in Miami and Buffalo. In the NFC North, we will go 3-1 or 2-2 depending on how good the Vikings and Lions are. Then the big factor will be how will we do against the Browns, Commanders, and Texans to determine if we'll be an 8-9 team or a 10-7 team. I'm not touching the floor after this past season, and I'm not pumping them beyond 10, so the football gods don't hit us with another gut check season. Regardless, support Rivals to end Alzheimer's now and go DNVR. Absolutely great stuff there, DNVR Rivals. And one of the things that when I was reading that, it reminded me of, Brandon Marshall not only said, are the Broncos going to start 10-1 or 9-2? He said, then they're going to continue that. They're not going to drop off.
Yeah.
So what does Brandon think? 13-4? I mean, if you think they're going to go 10-1 and not drop off, you're talking about 14-3, 15-2. My goodness.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest takeaway is that Brandon Marshall is a Bronco. Like,
True.
he's not a Bear. He's not like a
That's very
Seahawk.
true.
But
Yep.
officially, I'm not sure if we've come out and said this. He's a Bronco.
He is.
He's absolutely a Bronco.
Yep.
What's and
so
I mean, the
cool is-
crossover with Russ,
Yep.
the season with Russ,
Yep.
that will also help him take this side. But
And then also, do you remember last year when all of the Broncos receivers were out with Russell Wilson
Yep.
in San Diego training? There was one non-current Bronco there with him. It was Brandon Marshall.
yeah,
So he is a Russ guy.
he's definitely a Russ guy.
That's probably a good thing to throw in for, like, truth and facts.
Definitely. I think if somebody, let's see, to say the Broncos go 14-3, would I take 10-1 odds? I don't think I would.
14-3. Isn't that what the Chiefs and Eagles did last year? Yeah. And they were the best teams in their conference. So what you're saying right now, you probably need further than 10-1. Although, what are they, plus 2,500 to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
So Vegas, I mean, you're probably not too far off with those odds.
I'm definitely. I mean, that's probably right around it.
What is it to win the AFC?
I'm
Obviously,
not sure.
it's a little different because that's more of playoffs and making it to the Super Bowl as opposed to just having the best record in the regular
I
season.
think I might have it on my notes.
But I mean, it's got to be right around there.
Yeah.
Let's see. NFL is not as easy to find since we're in the dead of the off season right now. Okay, here we go. Conference winner. The Broncos are plus. They're not here. Oh. Broncos have worse Super Bowl odds than I thought. Okay, no, this is weird. Broncos plus 2,500 win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
To win the AFC plus 2,000.
I mean, it is.
So it is 20-1.
It's tough to get out of the AFC.
Yeah, they figured that that's how much stronger they view the AFC than the NFC, though.
It makes sense. The NFC sucks.
Yeah.
Except the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess we don't need to go down all these tangents. I was just looking last night. 25% of Jalen Hurts' pass attempts were off RPOs.
Wow.
And Russell had like 40 all season.
Wow.
And
how many of those were probably at the end of the season, those final 2 games?
Yeah, probably. Like, that's another one of those things that, like, he didn't have a massive amount in Seattle, but there was certainly more.
Right.
Especially compared to league averages. The league moves that way.
Yep. Sean Payton's a smart guy. He saw what Justin Alton was able to get from Russell Wilson, which the final 2 weeks of the season, 6 touchdowns. Total touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 95 passer rating, 275 total yards a game from Russ. He's going to rely on that more than he is anything that happened with Nathaniel Hackett.
3 touchdowns a week would give you 51 touchdowns.
Pretty damn good. You'd be in the MVP conversation. Maybe we're talking 14
Maybe
and 3.
14.
Man, this was fun.
It was fun.
Any final thoughts?
This is a very happy day.
Good.
This was a nice little break.
I hope it continues to be a happy day, Henry. We'll all be thinking of you. We will see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Correct?
Wait. Yes.
We'll see you tomorrow, and then you're off to San Diego. We will be back tomorrow talking all things Broncos. Thanks so much for rocking and rolling with us. We will see you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.